Hi, Damien here, and we're just going to discuss in this video what's new in SpectraLayers Pro 13, starting with the bridge from your DAW, in my case Pro Tools, over to SpectraLayers. We have the ability now to go clip by clip, and some of the other things here can be used in conjunction with that. I tend to go entire selection myself, but you can also turn off use in playlist and just have SpectraLayers target your clip list. Let's go the old-fashioned way. So, SpectraLayers 13. Before I go any further, I want to talk about how many keystrokes are now available to you. You can basically assign virtually every parameter to some kind of keystroke. And this has use in interface layouts, which work a lot like, if you work with Pro Tools, work a lot like window configurations, in that you can save how you see things laid out on your screen and recall them with a keystroke. You can see I've got a load as Option L, save as Shift L, and delete as Control L. So let me recall my fourth interface layout for asterisks, and there we go. Those are all the 9 new modules for SpectraLayers, starting with unmixed sound effects. This one will separate ambience from specific or spot effects. Unmixed 2 voices will attempt to give you 2 different layers of voice 1, a primary voice and a secondary voice. We have the new fade module, which, amongst other things, you have fade in, fade out, and crossfade, and 4 different shapes: linear, log, exponential, and S-curve. Also has an auto mode, which has to be seen to believe. You can make a selection, and you see there it changed to exponential, and that is based on the spectral content inside the selection. This neat little module actually tries to think about the best way to fade spectral content in auto mode. I love it. Next thing is level check. We have RMS support, we have LUF support, we have LRA support in here, and we can toggle AES17 on and off. We can target all layers or each individual layer when we're working with layers. And of course, if we want to go to the highest peak, we just hit this and it takes us there. Ambience heal. If I create a multi-layered timeline here, so I have noise, one of the things that happens is we can see there are somewhat patchy holes here. Ambience heal smartly selects the layer that it thinks would be useful in helping to patch those holes. So if I hit it, boom, everything is filled in much more nicely. Very handy and meant to be used obviously in conjunction with one of the unmixed modules, like unmixed noisy speech, which is what I just used here. The next 2 are probably arguably going to be the most useful for dialogue editors and people in post. You have attenuate and reconstruct, and attenuate simply turns things down. So we'll find a selection using the marquee tool, and I just want to bring it down, and I apply, and it's attenuated based on the spectral content, the levels of the surrounding area. And I can go horizontal, which is time-wise, vertical, frequency, both, or balance, which is sort of an AI-assisted approach to bringing it down. It's very handy for dialogue editing, I have to say. Reconstruct is probably my favorite part of SpectraLayers Pro 13. You can actually get rid of a lot of things just simply by using the synthesis in this module. And often horizontal alone for dialogue works best. So I'll take down the tonal and the transients and just work on noise reconstruction. Watch what happens. It perfectly matches the level of the spectral content around and seeks to fill whatever selection you've made with synthesized noise or tonal aspects of sound. See, check this out. Based on the selection and which direction or directions you've assigned it. It's really groundbreaking. Then we have voice declick to get rid of clicks in dialogue, which is also a new feature. We've had declick before. This one specifically targets vocal clicks. You've got a threshold, which is in decibels. So the higher you set it, the less likely it is to hit things that aren't clicks. And then the width as well, you can target just narrow clicks or wider ones. And of course, the reduction ratio makes it really powerful. And then we have voice decrosstalk, which is very much like unmixed two voices, except it will just work on a single layer and try to remove another voice. There are also selection improvements. So I have a selection here. If I go to Paste Special, I see that I can now paste to selection and paste insert. So if I have something over here, and I now make a selection over here, instead of just changing the shape, it will endeavor to paste to selection or insert. That's huge. Also with these selections, you can grab edges and you can resize or fade your selections after the fact. Really great improvements for dialogue to fine-tune those things. Some of the UI features that have been enhanced as well are being able to hover and get the keystroke and whether or not FFT size factors into how well the module or tool works. Getting back to Pro Tools, we can send multiple clips over in the clip-by-clip scenario. And you can see we have multiple tabs up here. One of the great new features as well is being able to batch process multiple tabs. As you can see here, I have 3 tabs. And I can batch process. And I can, of course, using module change and things like that, I can select which tabs to process and then just simply hit process. And that way we can streamline our workflows and we don't necessarily have to have every single clip on the same tab when we're working. For those of you using core audio and perhaps even recording into SpectraLayers, you now have more options with respect to the VU meter down here. We now have default layouts. I talked about layouts earlier. I can pick one of my layouts as the default. And next thing I know, the next time I launch SpectraLayers, that's how the system will look. And this works on multiple monitor situations. It's incredibly handy to be able to set a default and, of course, to recall other interface layouts with the click of a button. In core audio, we can now go wider than 128 device channels. That has huge implications for people running much larger rigs. With respect to transcription, we now have more export options and support for many more frame rates. We can also now easily search by clicking over here which module we're looking for. So if I just want something to deal with noise, I can find it just by clicking in here. Getting back to preferences, in our system preferences, we can also now include selection events or not in our history. So the question is, what do I think of SpectraLayers Pro 13 overall? To me, it's the most powerful post-production spectral editor that's ever existed. We're able to do so many things with these 9 new modules and the pre-existing modules we had before. The workflow improvements in terms of being able to select and manipulate those selections, the keystrokes and the interface layouts make this highly configurable to the point where each individual person can actually tailor their entire experience to how they want to work and not the other way around.